I can't wait to talk to Mark Podolsky from Land Geek, who has created a passive income business in flipping land and has some amazing life lessons to share. Welcome to Richer Soul, your journey to a more purposeful, intentional, amazing life. Where are you going to go and how are you going to get there? Let's figure that out together. At the core is the financial well-being to be able to do what you want, when you want, how you want. It's about personal freedom and abundance. Please check out the Facebook page, facebook.com/Richer Soul. That is where I share interesting articles that I have read. Also, if you visit the website, you can sign up for my email list. I don't send emails out very often, but if there's something important or some bonus materials, that's the best way to get it. I'll be releasing an ebook later this year, and those who are on the list will be the first to see it. If you hear something interesting and think it could benefit someone else that you know, please share the podcast. The people you share it with will be thankful that you were kind enough to do that for them. So, are you creating the life you deserve? My goal is to help you figure out how your puzzle pieces come together to design a great life. That means we have to understand where we're going. In other words, what's our purpose? We also need to be healthy enough to be able to do what we want and have the time to be able to do so. We need the financial resources to fund the life we choose. Living life alone gets kind of lonely, so creating strong relationships and being part of something bigger spiritually. While we all know this, it seems like we're stuck listening to those voices in our head that create fear and hold us back from the life we deserve. If you haven't had a chance yet to listen through episodes 1 through 9, I encourage you to go back and listen to the framework behind Richer Soul and how to create balance and abundance in your life. Before we meet Mark, I want to share some insights from the book 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. We talk about it a little bit throughout this episode. First off, Tim works a lot more than 4 hours a week. But what you learn in the book is how to manage your time and interruptions from people. From checking your email at specific times, working remotely, and creating systems so you don't have to do repetitive work. Having others do things so you can be super productive. Most people spend very little time every day being productive. It's all wasted on tasks that don't move the needle forward. I will say the book is slightly dated from a technology standpoint. However, the underlying principles still hold. It's about beating the game of life, not playing the game of life that everyone else is and losing. Tim is forever experimenting and trying new things to push the limits. Our guest today, Mark, has truly created a business that runs on systems, so he doesn't need to be as involved. He did the hard work to create that up front. Now, let's meet Mark Podolsky from landgeek.com and learn how he escaped a soulless corporate job to live life on his terms. Welcome to Richer Soul, Mark. It's great to have you join us today. Thanks for being here.
Rocky Lavani, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. So I always like to start at the beginning and find out what it was like when you were growing up and how much did your family and school teach you about money?
My dad was a wholesale grocer. Basically, he was entrepreneurial, but he worked for my grandfather. So my grandfather started it, and then my dad and his brothers worked in the business, but my dad kind of took it over because the brothers hated it. So I remember as a kid, I would go to the grocery stores and I'd work with my dad a little bit, and I'd say, "Dad, I want that pack of gum." And he'd look at me and he'd say, "No." He's like, "That's $1, and I can buy it for 70 cents. Right? So I knew the wholesale price of just about everything in the supermarket. Essentially, growing up like that was interesting to me because I was always looking for a deal. My parents would just never buy retail. Like my dad was a wholesale grocer, so it was always about getting a deal. That's really what I learned from my parents. was just the importance of never paying retail and always getting a deal. Now, school taught me nothing at all about money, but for whatever reason, I was kind of a precocious kid, and I started investing in the stock market at 13. I distinctly remember my first stock was Intel at 13. I bought it at 22, and I sold it 6 months later at $33. I'm an idiot. I just held it. So the one stock I did hold for that long was Apple. I had invested like $100, and now it's worth like $8,000 or something.
And you kick yourself for not buying more.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I was a kid. I didn't understand the power of buy and hold.
But you pick smart stocks, which most people don't.
I got lucky. When
you talk about finding a deal, that's not really an American trait that's raised into kids, is to always look for the deal. I think a lot of people are more apt to pay more for something because they want to apply that if you pay more, it must be worth more and special. And so that was a unique education that you received.
I think it was unique. I think that in a lot of ways, I grew up in a house that was very fearful about money as well. There wasn't this abundance mentality. It was almost a scarcity mentality. And I could feel my parents would be uncomfortable if we ordered, let's say, too much at dinner. So we go out to dinner. I'm like, I wanted to order a Coke. Like, no, get water. The Coke's $1.29. Like, okay. So to this day, Rocky, I can't even order a drink at a restaurant. I'll have water. I'll say to myself, it's because it's healthy. It's because I don't want to spend the money.
And so that's one of the things we talk about. The mindsets that our parents drill into us as a kid end up in adulthood. Sometimes they're useful and sometimes they're not. It's up to you to decide if that particular habit is good or bad for you. The fact that you're drinking water and you're healthy is good for you. The fact that you might not be willing to spend $1.29 on something you enjoy may not be as healthy. But that's a choice you have to make. Everyone has to make their own choices in those regards.
Exactly. I think as long as I'm aware of it, that's really what is important to me, that I'm not just sort of going through life just blindly adopting my parents' values when I was a kid and being aware, okay, this is useful, this isn't useful. Then going to apply that with my kids. So I'm at In-N-Out Burger with my 16-year-old, and you know how 16-year-old like teenagers are with food. They're starving. It's after basketball practice. We're at In-N-Out Burger. He says to me, Dad, I want to order some food. I'm like, great. He's like, I want 2 hamburgers, 2 orders of fries, and a shake. And I'm starting to do the math. $12 at In-N-Out Burger. And I said, no, you're going to have 1 burger, 1 order of fries, and a water. Like, how dare you feel so entitled? When I was a kid, I could never say that to my parents. So he's mad at me. I'm like mad at him. And he's still hungry after he eats all the food. And I go home and I talk to my wife about it. She said, honey, was it really worth hurting your relationship with your son over $6? I said, no, it's obviously not worth it. Now I overorder for him. Like, you want 3 burgers? You want 3 orders of fries? Like, now, because it's not worth it. It's all about the relationship. Why should my stuff as when I was a kid get in the way of my relationships today?
And you have to find that balance in there of where it fits. My next question was going to be, what are you doing to teach your kids about money, business, and success? So that's one story. Do you have a more intentional path for teaching them?
I do it in a very subtle way. We volunteer a lot because where I live is sort of not the real world. They are just surrounded by so much affluence. It's obnoxious. So we have to get them out of where they live for them to actually have any perspective whatsoever about how lucky they are. So we do a lot of volunteering. This last week, my son was a counselor for Camp Swift. And these are kids that literally have nothing. They are literally going to this camp for a week with just the clothes on their back. My son could not stop talking about these kids and the bond they had and how transformative it was for him. Now he's super helpful around the house. I don't have to ask him twice to do a chore. Like, he's so appreciative for what he has. I think just kind of subtly, not lecturing, but showing them in different ways, in different experiences, how lucky they are, I think it has more power as a parent than, I could lecture all day long about how lucky you are. And when I was a kid, and you guys have no idea, that is going to go in one ear, not the other, versus kind of just subtly showing them what it's like for a lot of people in this country, how to make a difference. And, we have a gratitude jar. I make them write down what they're grateful for. And I think just these little subtle things that I do in my life, it will actually translate for them as well. So I don't do a lot of lecturing. I don't do a whole lot of transparent type stuff. It's just very subtle. It's all under the radar. I'm hoping through the years, it'll actually sink in and become a core value for them.
I always say kids never listen to what you say. They listen to what you do. But you've got to walk the path for them to learn it. When they see you walking the path, and in this case, they saw other kids walking a certain path, they get to learn from seeing versus the words themselves, because they tend to let that go in one ear and out the other.
Yeah. Like on Mondays, every Monday, if I go through like Starbucks drive-through with the kids and my wife, we kind of make it fun. And then I always pay for the person behind me. And it doesn't matter how much that order is. Sometimes it's $3, and sometimes it's like I'm buying them breakfast for like $30. The kids are like, "Why do you always do that?" I said, well, think about it. What a great surprise for that person behind us. And they're starting their week on a Monday. They've gotten this little gift from a stranger. Then they're going to go out in the world, and they're probably going to do something nice for someone else. And it's just a great way to start the week and make this impact in the world in a very small, manageable way. Who knows what can ripple out from it? Maybe they had a horrible morning, and now we just transformed their whole day.
How does it make you feel?
I feel great. I don't even look back. I love it. It's for me. It's selfish. I don't look back. I don't try to see what the reaction is. I just go.
That's one of the lessons I've learned in life is you get a lot more joy from giving than you do from receiving. I think if more people gave, they'd be living a much happier life.
Oh, absolutely. There's that famous Tony Robbins quote, suffering is an excessive focus on yourself.
There you go. So why do you think your parents had that frugality mindset?
My grandfather grew up in the Great Depression. That mindset was generational. My mom's parents, same way. So it just kind of is a generational thing.
And yet you broke through. Congrats.
Well, I try. I look, don't think I don't backslide from time to time. It's certainly not natural, and it's certainly not my default. I have to take a deep breath. Like whenever I feel really strongly about something, I know it's not about that. It's about something deeper. And then I'm like, oh, wait. This is about scarcity, or this is about entitlement, or this is about how when I was a kid, I couldn't do this. Okay, I'm not going to do that for my kids. I'll let it go.
I have to learn to take the deep breath. I forget. I usually react first and then breathe later.
Oh, yeah. And my kids are so annoying. Dad, why are you breathing so deeply? Like, I'm taking my own time out right now, so I don't say anything mean.
So you went to college, you got out, and you got this wonderful, soulless corporate job. What was that all about?
I was doing investment banking, doing mergers and acquisitions with private equity groups, and it was miserable. I had long hours. I had a lot of pressure. I was micromanaged. I had a 45-minute commute to work and back. I had no control, politics. At the end of the day, I was really kind of even going against my core values. I mean, we would have to lie to these CEOs and CFOs and say the private equity group was interested in buying their company. They really weren't. They just wanted to see their financials. It was really so bad for me that, you know how you get like the Sunday blues, anticipating Monday coming around and having to be at work? I'd get the Friday blues, anticipating like the weekend going by really fast and then having to be at work on Monday. It was really, really hard on me.
And how long did you do that for?
5 years.
Well, there's people doing it a lifetime. You at least cut your losses short.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want me to tell you the story of how I got out?
Absolutely.
So my firm hires this guy, and he's telling me that on the side, he's going to tax deed auctions, and he's buying up raw land, pennies on the dollar, and he's flipping them online, and he's making a 300% return on his investment. Well, Rocky, I'm looking at companies all day long, and a great company has 15% EBITDA margins or free cash flow. Great company. Your average company is at 10%. And I'm looking at companies all day long less than 10%. So I don't believe him. So we go to New Mexico. We go to this little town. We drive around. We look at the land. I've never bought any real estate except for my house up to that point. I just do exactly what he says to do. So I had $3,000 saved up for car repairs. I bought 10 half-acre lots at an average price of $300. Next week, I put them up online, and they all sell for an average price of over $1,200. He was right, 300%. So I took all that money, and I went to another auction in Arizona, and there's no one in the room. Again, this is 2000. And I'm buying up all this land, and I'm flipping it online. In the next 6 months, I made over $90,000 on that one auction. So I go to my wife. I'm like, honey, I'm going to quit my job, and I'm going to invest in land full time. She said, absolutely not. So I said, okay. So I did it part time for 18 months until the land investing exceeded the investment banking income. And I've been doing it full time ever since 2001.
So you figured out an opportunity in the market, one that, and I'm assuming that there's probably, well, now that market actually got oversaturated, didn't it, in the tax sales?
It did. So I pivoted and I started sending out offers now directly to the owners that owe back taxes before they go to auction.
So you're catching it before that occurs.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And that makes sense. And that's one of the things that happens is you have to find a market that's got profitability, but that's small enough that the big money can't get involved in, so that they can't compete with you. So the investment banker doesn't have the ability to deploy his $100 million into small niches that have tremendous profit. And if you
Correct.
can find that niche, that's an amazing sweet spot to be in.
Yeah, private equity groups don't go to these. They don't want land. Hedge funds don't want it. So it's just all these little mom and pops.
And you're able to make a great opportunity from that.
Well, I mean, I think it's the best passive income model. I have a podcast about it because it's a one-time sale, and then we get recurring passive income every single month, but I don't have to deal with renters or rehabs or renovations or rodents. And because I'm not dealing with the tenant, I don't have to worry about Dodd-Frank or RESPA or the SAFE Act because we're exempt. So I've got nothing to maintain, nothing to protect, and these massive margins. I don't know of anything better except for maybe life insurance, because life insurance is just an idea. You don't even have to go out and buy anything, and you get that passive income after your sale. But life insurance isn't much fun to sell.
No, it's not. It's talking about death.
Right.
We all need it, but trying to sell it is a whole different game. And you've actually multiplied the revenue streams from this, because you're buying the property at a discount, then you're selling it at a markup, and I'm assuming you're getting your initial investment back out, and then you're turning it into monthly cash flow by offering terms and payments to your buyers. Is that correct?
Correct.
In a sense, you're multiplying money and turning your business into a cash machine.
Correct.
And so over time, how many hours do you now spend physically involved in your business?
So because of software and systems and processes and automation, I spend 2 hours a week working in the business, just doing team meetings and management. I joke with my friends, I'm like, I'm going to write the 2-hour work week. Take that, Tim Ferriss.
Tim works a lot more than 4 hours too.
Right. And see, and the funny thing is, so do I, but I'm doing only the things that I love to do. And
so this is the thing. People have to learn to manage their time. You put the time and effort in to learn this business, and then you systematize it, and then you let others do the work for you. And that's the true thing of being an entrepreneur versus kind of owning a job that requires you to do all the work. Now, everyone talks about passive income, but most people aren't really making passive income. They're actively involved in their income. It seems like you have created a system that is much more passively involved in creating that income.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Because, think about Richard Schultz. He's the CEO of Starbucks. He's not in Starbucks whipping up your Frappuccino. Every day, I need to have the discipline to think, how can I find people who can do this better than me so I can actually spend time on the things that move the needle in the business? And that's strategy. I mean, God forbid you get a call from me after I've had coffee and I break something in the business because I'm like, okay, let's try this. The team's going along just fine. I'm like, oh, wait, let's try this. That's what I think, an entrepreneur is. Otherwise, you're a freelancer. You're trading time for money.
Absolutely. So what's the one thing that's been the biggest contributor to your success?
I think the one thing that's been the biggest contributor to my success, I think it might be, Kaizen, just daily continuous improvement and consistency and and just showing up and working at it every single day. And grit. There's days you don't feel like doing it. I do it anyway. I don't know. What do you think is the biggest contributor, Rocky, to your success?
To my success, I think it's just constantly showing up and doing the work and not making big, massive mistakes that will take you down. I've made lots of mistakes. I've screwed up lots of stuff, but they've all been a portion of as far as building wealth. So you might screw up, but the screw up doesn't cause everything to crash and burn. And I think sometimes people get involved in things and they don't look at the downside risk and they make a choice that causes everything to fall apart. So constantly improving and making sure you don't take unreasonable risks.
Yeah. I also like the term embrace the suck. I think that every day, if I'm not doing something a little bit out of my comfort zone, then I'm not growing. So I think growth is also a huge factor in success, and which can also, what is your metric for success? I think that's something that's really important to think about as well. Is your metric internal or is it external? Because you can't control what happens out there. But if it's an internal metric, so for me, like an internal metric might be make 20 offers a day, create a system, delight 3 customers. Those things I can control. I can't control necessarily having $100 million in revenue. If anything, if I don't hit that goal, it could be demotivating, where the things that I can totally control and have that as my metric and my core values and living in a way that makes me feel good and is fun, I think that's way more an enjoyable way of running a business than having these external metrics.
That's a very difficult thing to do, is to look at a situation and say, what can I control versus what I can't control, and just focus on what you can control and let go of everything else. That's a very difficult thing to overcome, I think. Yet you've seemed to accomplish it. How were you able to let go of the things you can't control? Because those are the things that drive us up the wall.
Well, I meditate every day, so I practice this every single day. Having that sort of mindset of being in the moment and not letting your thoughts run your life, if you will, can help with that as well. And then just constantly reading and having masterminds and mentors that have adopted this philosophy. And you see that as soon as they let go, the money came. It wasn't like they were money focused and the money came. It's when they let it go and they focused on the things that they could control, creating an amazing customer experience, creating lots of value in people's lives. Then the money came. It wasn't, oh, I need money, money, money. Nobody buys from a hungry salesman, right? As soon as they let it go, and as soon as I let it go, interestingly enough, it makes the business just grows. You attract more business in that way.
So let's dig into this further. Do you have a morning routine?
I do. So I wake up at 6 and I don't snooze. I put my phone away from the bed. I get up right away at 6. Then I go and I stretch. Then I work out. And my workout is usually not, crazy long. It's usually 10 to 14 minutes. I do a HIIT workout, high intensity interval training workout. During my cool down, because I'm all sweaty from it, I meditate for 20 minutes. And I use like Headspace or Brain.fm to do that. And then that's my cool down. I'll stretch a little bit more. And then I'll take a cold shower and I'll start my day. And usually by that time, I'll usually take the kids to school around 7:15. They need to get off to school.
Most successful people that I hear about have some sort of a morning routine that gets them up and going, but it's not focused on work. It's not focused on email or what they need to accomplish. It's more focused on getting themselves ready. And it sounds like that's what you're doing in the morning. You're getting your body ready. You're getting your mind ready.
Absolutely. I check email twice a day, 10 o'clock and 4 o'clock. And that way I can stay focused on the things that actually move the needle in the business. Checking email won't move the needle in the business. It may make me feel good or feel bad. Again, things I can't control. But I really want to focus my day on the things that I can control and not have the external world dictating to me my day.
Sounds like you took that 4-hour work week to heart. Routines.
Yeah, absolutely. A great book is The Morning Miracle. It's at Hal Elrod.
I have not. I've heard of it. I haven't read that one.
Fantastic. Talks all about it.
So let's switch. You mentioned some other things. I think a lot of people don't talk about this, and yet all the successful people have done this or are involved in this. And that's getting involved with masterminds and coaches. How have they helped you in getting you to where you are today?
The ROI on a mastermind or a coach is ridiculous. There's that great Zen quote, a fly can go 1,000 miles on a horse's tail. So I just want to go on that horse's tail and go. They've already made the mistakes. They've already done everything. So I look for these people that accomplish what I want to accomplish, so I can just follow their direction and do that. So Ori is one of my mentors. He sold his company for $360 million. But his mentor is Mort Meyerson, who was partners with Ross Perot, and he's a billionaire. So you're like the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most. I want to hang out with those really very soulful and accomplished and smart 5 people that are making a dent in the universe.
For the average person, that seems like an unreachable goal. How does someone who's just starting out, or who's, let's say they're in their 20s or 30s and they want to start going forward, they're not going to be able to reach out and connect with somebody that high. What do you suggest they do to get started?
Add value to those people's lives. Find out where you can add value for them. And then, or start listening to like a podcast that they're doing. But I would say reach out and see how you can add value to them. Who knows? It's just a numbers game. What I find is that there's a great book called Give and Take by Adam Grant. Givers continue to want to give. You'll find a mentor that wants to continue to give it, because after a while, that's ultimately what makes them happy, is helping other people. So they're happy to do it. You just have to approach them in a way that they want to help you. Usually it's, how can I help you? So if I come to you, Rocky, and said, hey, I listened to your podcast. It's great. Do you mind, I'm having a really tough time right now. Would you mind giving me 3 free coaching sessions? You'd be like, whoa. Like, I don't even know you. I don't want to mentor you. But if I came to you and said, hey, I really love your podcast, And would you mind if I could help promote you in any way? What would be a great way to help promote you? Because I really want to see you get to the next level. You'd be like, wow, that's nice. Tell me more, right? And now we're having a conversation.
Absolutely. And I think, see, these are the skills that no one's taught. In school, especially, you're kind of almost taught the opposite. How did you learn to go about doing this?
I read probably a book a week. I listen to podcasts, and I just love to learn. So pretty soon you start filtering out what's valuable in your life, what's not valuable, and start testing it out. So, I'm curious about everything. And I also have this attitude, and I say this to my kids all the time. They always laugh. I'm like, I know nothing about anything except for food. I love food, but that's the only thing I know about, right? If you kind of go in this with this empty mind attitude, you don't know anything, because ultimately I really don't know much about, anything. I can learn and I can absorb and I can test and I can experiment and see what works for me and what doesn't work for me. It makes life way more colorful when you don't know anything, and you can just start looking at everything as this fun sort of experiment. Like, well, Rocky said that, to have a more richer life, I should go out and volunteer on the weekends. All right, I'll try that. And then sure enough, oh my gosh, this is like transformative. I feel great. My kids feel great. It's amazing. But if you didn't say that, I probably wouldn't have tried it. I wouldn't have thought about it. I got to get out of my shell.
And that's not easy to do. There's a lot of mindset constraints in our lizard brain that keep us from getting out of that shell, that put fear and doubt into ourselves. To go volunteer for a weekend, the only thing you truly lose is time. That's your worst probable outcome from doing something like that. It doesn't cost you money. You can't really fail. I mean, you're a volunteer. You did your best. And yet, so often, we fail to step up and even try, which is a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame.
So you do something interesting that I've heard of from other people. You have terminal days in your life.
Yeah, my wife hates when I say that.
So explain what terminal days are.
So every Monday and Friday, I take off. I go through my morning routine. And then on those 2 days, I pretend like, what if this was the last day of my life? How would I live it? What's really the most important thing to me? Ultimately, it's very simple. I want to just deepen the relationships that I have. So my wife and I will go on a date. We'll have coffee. We'll have breakfast. I might meet a buddy for lunch. I'll pick up the kids from school. It's very simple things. It's not like I want to go out and party, because, I mean, then I'm hungover the next day if I survive that day. It's weird how that works. Just living this life of pleasure is not going to do it for me. Like, not that I don't want to have any pleasure. I do. But those things are pleasurable for me, is deepening my relationships with my family and friends. That way, when I go to bed that night, I feel like, gosh, if I died in my sleep, what a great way to spend my last day on earth. That's really how I approach it. And it's not that I don't want to plan, because I do want to plan for the future. So in a way, it's a terminal day combined with a military deployment. Yeah, if I'm going to get deployed to Afghanistan, I got to get my house in order. I got to have things prepared. I got to have things planned. I think about that as well during those terminal days. Is my family taken care of if I were to die? What do I want to leave as a legacy for my children? What do I want them to know before I die? I think about these things.
How do you get your kids to listen to that?
I don't. I can't lecture them. I just have, like what we said in the beginning, like, yeah. I have to live it. I have to live it. And hopefully it'll come through. Lecturing them won't work. I have to be the example for them, and hopefully it'll come through.
That's a message for parents, that if you want to raise great kids to be great adults, you have to make yourself a better adult. You've got to sharpen yourself and be somebody that your kids look up to. and want to follow and want to emulate, because they aren't going to listen to your words. They're going to listen to your actions. So go have great actions. Do great things and don't sit there in the fear of the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
At one time, you had a big house, fancy cars, and a nanny. How'd that turn out?
Between 2001 and 2008, I was very ego-driven. I'm making all this money, flipping raw land. My friends thought I was a drug dealer. I was working only a few hours a week and doing all that. It was pretty crazy. In that sense, my values are all off. I just thought I was living the typical Parkinson's law of money. So the more I made, the more I spent. And yet it made me more and more miserable. I got the big car. I got the big house. Now I've got this big house. Even though my wife doesn't work, I thought, oh, geez, we should have a housekeeper. So we had a housekeeper 5 days a week. Well, I've got these 3 young kids, so we should have a nanny 5 days a week. And I just kept building up my overhead and overhead. You know, we'd go out for big dinners, yet happiness was eluding us. My wife and I were fighting. We were stressed out about money. It was just very, very shallow. And then 2008 comes around, and I'm still doing well financially. The business is still going well. And I didn't really get hit till 2010 because land's sort of like the long tail of real estate, but forced us to really figure out what was important in our lives. So we got rid of the big house, we got rid of the big cars. You know, the kids didn't have to do private school anymore. We had public school, got rid of the nanny, got rid of the housekeeper. And sure enough, we started doing these simple things as a family, like cooking at home and playing charades. And we were way happier. Today, as things have progressed, I always remember how blessed I was to have to be forced into looking at my core values, that what really makes me happy in life. And it's not bringing in Mastros every other day or having these things that society says that are so important, like fancy cars and a big house. There's nothing wrong with it in and of itself, but they're not going to make you happy. So that's really what I learned from it.
This is something I always wonder. Do you have to go through it to truly understand that? Or can you learn that and avoid it and somehow get it out of your mind that I have to have these things, that I'm happy without them?
I think so. I think that's where the mentorship comes. And that's where reading about it and listening to these stories, like, you don't have to go out and make the same mistake I did. I redid it. I can tell you it's not going to make you happy. James Altucher has a great blog about how he made all these millions and lost millions and just spent it all. And you feel his pain, like, okay, I don't have to go through that kind of pain. I can learn from his mistakes. So why not learn from other people's mistakes? You don't have to repeat it.
And that's very wise.
Yeah, the science is in. Like, after like $75,000 a year, there's a law of diminishing returns with money. It's not going to make you any happier.
It's because, when you have the fancy car, then all of a sudden you can't park it wherever because now you're worried about it getting scratched. And so the thing that's supposed to make you happy turns into literally an anchor on you, that you're constantly worried about it and you can't let go of it. And the same thing goes for most other stuff.
It's a hedonic treadmill, right? Like, you feel good for like a day. My house and my lifestyle, you know what it was great for? My guests. They loved it. And I got a little ego. Oh, Mark, you're doing so well. I'm like, oh, yeah. But I was miserable because I'm the one who has to pay for all this stuff every day. What happens if I don't close a deal? Then I'm stressed and I'm worried. Oh, my gosh. Now what are we going to do?
And now you don't have those worries.
No, now I don't have those worries. It's amazing. Now I know what makes me happy. Doesn't have anything to do with stuff. Experiences make me happy. Look, I'll spend a lot of money on a family vacation, absolutely, but I'll save that money. I'll put it away first. I use a profit first method. We have like these little buckets. We just do things very systematically and automated financially so that we don't have to worry.
I did an episode on that. We took the family to Italy for 17 days, and I spent $15,000, a lot more than I wanted to. But it was enjoyable. And sometimes you just have to spend, and I had the money to do it, so I did it. And I did that through automated savings. You ask about one of the things and the keys to success is as much as you can automate and let go of and let just happen automatically, the easier it is to be successful. All my savings goals are automated. I don't have to worry about them. Sounds like you do something similar.
I did the exact same thing. I'm a big believer in decision fatigue. The fewer decisions I have to make in a day, the better.
Do you do that in other areas? Like for me, I have white shirts for work. They're all white, so I don't have to think about it. I grab the next one on the rack. I grab the next suit on the rack, and I don't have to make that decision in the morning. It's done, and I move on. And I know a lot of people, entrepreneurial, like Silicon Valley, they wear the same shirt 7 days a week. They don't have to think about it. Do you have other things like that you do?
I do something similar. I have different shirts, but I go down the line. I already know what shirt I'm going to wear. I don't have to think about it. It's just, okay, it's the next shirt in the line. I only have maybe 7 or 10 shirts. Same thing with everything else. I automate so much in my life that I don't have to think about them. Even on Sundays, like we might plan out the week's menu. So we don't have to think about what we're going to have for dinner that week. We just know. I time theme my weeks. I know on Tuesdays are my podcasts. Wednesdays are my team meetings. Thursdays are client meetings. Monday and Friday are my terminal days. And days for growth and reading and thinking and enjoying life. And then Saturday and Sunday are my family days. So I don't have to think about, what am I going to do today?
It's already there.
I'm
going to do a podcast. Well, that's Tuesday. My next open Tuesday is this. Yeah, that's good with meals because people probably spend hours thinking about, what do you want to eat? Well, I don't know. What do you want to eat? Well, I don't know. What do you want to eat? There's half an hour gone thinking about something that you're not even going to remember because I don't even remember what I ate yesterday.
And if there's any tool out there that saves me time, I'm a big believer. I can always make more money. I can't get more time. It's my only resource that's non-renewable, and I'll do it. I used to be a big believer in like no valet parking. I valet park all the time now. I use Uber Eats or Postmates. Like I don't go out and wait in line for Chipotle anymore. I have it delivered.
Smart man. You have to figure out the time value of your money. If the time value of your money says get it delivered and do it without guilt. I think the problem is most people are watching TV and getting their Chipotle delivered, which is not exactly valuable.
Yeah, if you're saving yourself time, make sure that time is used productively.
I always like to make the distinction so that we're clear. This isn't about luxury. This is about productivity and using your time wisely for the things that you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I believe you use virtual assistants too, correct?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And what types of things do they do for you?
Oh, my gosh. Everything. I mean, I've outsourced my outsourcing now. So my assistant actually trains the VAs. We have systems and processes. We have software and automation. And we use Basecamp. But basically, I'm like Sinatra. I just show up and sing. The podcast is completely automated. All our marketing is completely automated. Just about everything is completely automated. If it's not automated and I find myself doing a task, I'll figure out, okay, is this a task I can eliminate, systematize, or delegate? I figure out, okay, how can I get rid of that 10 minutes for the rest of my life? And so that's what I do.
How long did it take you to set up all these systems?
4 years.
That's not bad, though. That 4 years isn't bad.
It took 4 years to kind of figure out I needed systems and started doing systems. It's a constant work in progress. As you grow, your systems break and you got to redo your systems.
One of the biggest struggles people will probably have is how do I pay for my systems?
How do you pay for your systems?
In other words, if I have to hire a virtual assistant or if I have to pay someone else to do something, how do I generate the revenue to overcome that. Now, if
Oh,
you're building
I
a
see what you're saying,
business,
right.
that's fine. But for a lot of people, especially when they're starting out or younger, they don't have the revenue stream to do that.
Right. So the last thing you delegate is sales. You as an entrepreneur, you as a CEO, that's really your job. And that's the only thing that's going to fuel everything else is sales. Sales, sales, sales. And you focus on that. You focus on adding value. If you're doing these tasks that take you away from providing revenue, then you start outsourcing that. And I get the point of like the cheapest person you can hire is yourself type of thing. But then get those tasks done and go through like the E-Myth. Start thinking, okay, I'm doing this for now, knowing that I'm going to get this off my plate at some point once the revenue's there. So being completely cognizant of this plan. And then once you start building your revenues, that's why the entrepreneurial trap is you quit your job you're working 40 hours a week. Now you're working 80 hours a week to grow this business. Nothing wrong with it, as long as you know that there's something there at the end of the rainbow, that you've got ways to start getting yourself out of every phase of your business.
You're being intentional and purposeful in how you do things. You actually think about it and make a choice.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't just work. You got to like step back. Absolutely.
Well, I think a lot of business owners don't do that. They're so busy in their business that they never step back to be able to do that.
Yeah, exactly. That's where you're going to get burnt out very quickly.
If people want to start a side business, getting involved in land, you help people do that, don't you?
I do. We're 90% automated now with software, and we help people learn how to buy and sell raw land and start building up a passive income. It's amazing. It's been the most rewarding piece of my professional journey, where I hear people have retired their spouse, they were able to quit their job, they're traveling the world, because you can do this from anywhere in the world with an inexpensive laptop and an internet connection. Sean and Rachel Rickman quit their jobs. Now with the passive income, they're traveling the world and working on this business and living vicariously through them. It's amazing. They just got back from Italy and Valencia, Spain, and now they're traveling the U.S.
I've got to say, it sounds kind of unbelievable in the sense of it sounds too easy. I've got to believe there's got to be a lot of hard work behind this.
Oh my gosh. It's a simple model, but it's not easy. Nothing is easy. If it were easy, everybody would be doing it. We wouldn't have a market. Absolutely. I don't know anything worth doing that's easy.
So you have to put the time and effort into building this business.
Absolutely.
If someone were to do this on the side, what would be the expectations of what should they project for time-wise to be able to build a business like this?
A focused hour a day. The only thing that makes money in my niche is mailing and marketing. You focus an hour a day on the things that make you money, it will move the needle in your life. I promise you. But a focused hour a day, that means not checking social media, not checking email, not getting distracted, but getting done the tasks that you need to get done in this business.
And I'm sure you tell them exactly what they need to focus on and what they don't need to focus on.
Absolutely.
And you've learned that through years of doing the work.
Correct.
That's awesome. So if people want to find you and get a hold of you, where should they do that?
TheLandGeek.com. TheLandGeek.com is the best place to start. We'll give them our passive income blueprint, get the ebook, How to Avoid the 3 Fatal Land Buying Mistakes, and get our podcast delivered each week to their email inbox.
I will put that in the show notes.
Yeah, and if they email support@thelandgeek.com, subject Richer Soul, we'll send them for free the $97 passive income launch kit.
Thank you. That's nice. So now people need to take action. Get on the email and ask. Get something for free. The worst that happens is you learn something. Is there anything that we haven't talked about today that we should touch on before we end?
I don't think so. I think we covered a lot.
We did. We went through a lot of different areas. I knew that would happen because I knew you were a smart guy who would have all the answers for us today.
I wish I had all the answers.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on Richer Soul today.
Rocky, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
I encourage you to check out Mark at www.thelandgeek.com. Don't forget to email and get your free blueprint. You can learn how to create systems from Mark as well so that you can have passive income. It's not easy and you do have to do the work up front, but the rewards over time are exponential. Mark has shared some great insights on how to live a richer, more productive life. What's preventing you from moving forward? And who are you putting on your team to help build the life you deserve? When you're ready to take massive action, I'm here to help you build your path and create the life you desire. Thanks for listening. If you want to contact me, it's rocky@richersoul.com. Have an abundant week.